The following podcast is brought to you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at WrestlingWithJohners.com.
Hey, let's crack on. Our WWE continually going up, down, down. Welcome, everybody, to yet another live chop here on the Bucker Bomb Entertainment page in association with our friends over at the Johners Podcasting Network. I am your reigning, defending Bucker Bomb Entertainment Champion of the World, Luke Anthony Walsh, hailing from the United Kingdom. And joining me, she is the mean queen of Syracuse, New York City, Sarah Bissek. God, what a week for WWE.
What an up and down week for the fans.
Exactly, and let's jump straight into it. Got no time to lose. The tale of Xavier Woods, Mr. Austin Creed. Obviously, they gave him the King of the Ring title after the Saudi Arabia show at Crown Jewel. But we find out in the last 24 hours that he is currently making nothing from his work at the WWE gaming channel Up, Down, Down, which is owned by WWE, even though it has 2 million subscribers. It's just, it doesn't make sense.
The amount that he made, because it was released when hackers got all the data from Twitch. There's an article that went out how much each of the wrestlers and all of them were making from September 2019 to September 2020. I believe that was the year they used, or maybe it was 20, or maybe it was September 20 to 21, whichever the case. Made just over 25,000, which for having 20 subscribers, it's not a lot.
It's shocking, really, isn't it? But it's nothing to be surprised about. I think that the biggest surprise of all is that after all of the debacle last year with the Twitch shutdown, of course, Selena Vega knows all about that, but she got made the Queen's crown, although you are our true queen. But it's, everyone else was dragged off Twitch, and yet Up, Down, Down remained, and it doesn't make sense that in a market that WWE really should be investing in, especially after UK20, they should really be pumping their gaming audience and building that market. They're just throwing it away, and it's such a shame that Xavier. But bear in mind, he fought his way up to getting that hosting role with G4. Obviously, the brand deal with Gears of War and World of Tanks. It shows that WWE are willing to engage, but they're not getting the most out of it. Which at this point with WWE is no longer a surprise.
There is speculation going around that it's kind of a power move. Xavier was probably wanted more, a bigger cut of that money since he's doing literally work. So how do you do that? You stop making content. So WWE takes away WWE's cut. All his content creators that are there with him, they fully support him. They all thought he was making, top dollar out of this. And when they found out it wasn't, they fully support Woods. So
exactly, and it's shocking to say, but when you look at the people who feature on there, you've got Paige, you've got Cesaro, you've got the one and only Tyler Breeze. Tyler Breeze is more over on a gaming channel than he was on TV. That is shocking. But I could watch them play GM mode on SmackDown vs. Raw 2006, I think it was, all day long. It's amazing content. And one Adam Cole, baby, who of course is no longer in the company as well. So it's a sad sight, but I think what we've come to expect with WWE recently, especially with the releases last week, where do they go from here?
If WWE's smart, they'll give Woods a bigger cut of this money, of the pie. At least 50%, in my opinion. He's doing all the work. It's just always just Sunday. You can do all this extra work for WWE, but they're the ones that are going to profit.
Exactly, and he completely deserves it. But we'll see where it goes with there, because from one debacle to another, Survivor Series is around the corner, and my goodness, would you not know about it had it not been for the little promotion that we are seeing on television and across social media. It's the biggest question to you, Sarah, is this: is Survivor Series even Big Four anymore?
Every other year, yes. Typically, the roster cuts seem to come after Survivor Series. So why they did them before, I'm not sure. So my guess is that, with all these new, people switching brands, it's just kind of really hard to say, okay, you guys are fighting for brand supremacy on a brand you've been here for 2-3 weeks.
It really doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah, especially if overlooked this year. Next year, I don't think it'll be back to its Big Four status.
I mean, when you consider last year with just the laughable show that we got. I mean, I'll take a tribute to one side, because I think that a lot of people are saying it, criticize it, but it was very meaningful. It was very deep, and of course, we got to see Sadio Vega back in the company, which is always a good sign, and seeing Kane in cosplay. But just the way that they put that show together, with Lana being the standout in the women's match and the men's match just being like it's embarrassing. And I was watching the Survivor Series gone by of Survivor Series 2003, 2001, 2000, back when they'd build for weeks and weeks and weeks on end, and they'd get to Survivor Series as the point. And now here we are in 2021. They decide to announce the men's and women's Survivor Series teams over social media. Was that a good move, Sarah?
I mean, it doesn't really help with the build-up, at least from my standpoint. Typically we're used to getting to, fight for your spot. I mean, we kind of got that with Dominic, this past week, but, let's lead to a different story, perhaps.
It's a shame. As I guess we'll run quickly through the card as we know it so far. So for the men's Survivor Series match, representing the red brand is Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, Kevin Owens, Rey Mysterio, and of course replacing Dominic is the almighty Bobby Lashley alongside MVP back on television again. I mean, we've spoken a lot recently about Kevin Owens and his contract status. Hello, Matt Rushmore. But solid Survivor Series team, really, isn't it? You've got the experience, you've got the class, and Seth Rollins is still a conniving, frustrating tweener.
Interesting, as was brought up by Adam Pearce, we'll get back to him in a moment. That team is all former WWE champions. Raw Survivor Series team. We saw kind of, Adam Pearce being kind of a jerk a little bit Monday night. Are we getting ready to see either the split of the GMs, or do you think Adam Pearce goes heel jam?
I've said this before. I mean, like, WWE official. Like, what does that even mean? Like, just give us general managers, or give us Triple H and Steph back. Give them back to us. And I love how they say they're all being WWE champions. Rey Mysterio only being a champion for an hour. God bless WWE in that and their sentimentality. Oh, that night in 2011. Yeah, poor old Rey Mysterio. The team Smackdown and wearing the blue brand is Drew McIntyre, Jeff Hardy, King Woods, Sami Zayn, and Happy Corbin with Madcap Moss by his side. I mean, putting King Woods even in this match, in amongst all of the controversy at the moment, I would have expected him to be facing the Usos in some sort of tag rivalry. As of course, I'll get on to Big E, Roman Reigns in just a bit, but Woods is being underutilized here. Surely there'd be a tag match in this.
I mean, it did come out that Kofi's hurt, so you got to use Woods somewhere. So the Survivor Series makes sense.
Yeah, it remains to be seen. But when you put King Xavier Woods against Drew McIntyre. I mean, there's just no comparison. And we've seen Drew against Seth a lot. Of course, Jeff Hardy's always a good worker. Sami Zayn still being a strong player in amongst it, and Happy Corbin still being employed by the company is simply remarkable. So that'll be an interesting match to see. On the women's side, we for Team Raw, we have Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, Carmella, and Queen Zelina. God, I mean, we 5 women who could be doing a lot more if only they had a mid-card title to fight for.
To be honest, with all the cuts lately, I'm surprised there's 10 women to fill this Women's Survivor Series match.
This is true. This is very true. And especially when you look at Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley, who were firmly in they were fighting for titles come WrestleMania, and here they are in November back in Survivor Series teams. And it's a shame. I mean, Liv Morgan and we'll come back to, and Queen Zelina, we've sort of spoken about already. For Team SmackDown, Sasha Banks, Shayna Baszler, Shotzi, Natalya, and Aaliyah. I mean, Sasha will always lead Team Blue. Of course, she's got the blue hair to rep it. But there's one name that they could really have done with Bing, and it's such a shame that she's injured at the moment, and that's Bayley. She could really have been a bolster to that team, but we wait and pray for her to come back, possibly at the Royal Rumble in January. But between those two matches, who do you see coming out on top?
I believe they're going to do one brand as complete dominant. I don't know if they're going to go clean sweep again this year. Maybe like a 6-1 or 5-1 match. I just can't see which one they're going to go with as the dominant team this year yet.
I mean, as it stands, they've still got another week and a bit to build towards something. I mean, there's only 2 champion versus champion matches, and that's Becky Charlotte for the 17,000th time, which I'm not too excited about, but one that is catching the headlines and certainly keeping me interested to watch the pay-per-view next Sunday, and that is Big E, Roman Reigns. I mean, there's so much face-heel intrigue here that, I think one angle I'll start with first with this is that I'm glad Dwayne isn't going to be there to be to spoil the moment, because Big E could beat Roman Reigns.
Good. We'll see.
Of all the opponents that Roman has faced over the last year and a bit, is Big E the most credible one so far?
If not him, you guys got to wonder if Brock Lesnar's going to take a title away from somebody.
I mean, yeah. True. That's a fair point, but Brock's moment is coming in April. He'll get his moment, and we know he'll get his moment, and that's just the Brock way and the storytelling going on into the new year. But of course, Becky against Charlotte on the women's side. Of course, we've waxed lyrical about the title swap that massively went off script. I mean, they can go Becky versus Charlotte. Yes, we've seen it a lot, but it's still a good match. It's still the Rock Austin of the women's division of the past 5 years. But what next level could they possibly go to at this point?
I think that going back to that title exchange, now knowing what we know, that there's real life heat between the two, maybe we see some legitimate, hard hitting in this match to bring a little bit more realism possibility.
It's fascinating that we were saying 2 or 3 weeks ago that Charlotte could be on her way out the door, of course, to go joining her partner Andrade El Idolo over in Tony Khan's company. But Charlotte is a company player, and she's a company star, and there's no person on this earth, even if their name is Ronda Rousey, that can take that away from her. And it will be one for the ages, certainly. And I think with the way that Becky has evolved her character since her comeback in August, I think we're in for something.
Mhm.
It's going to be an interesting thing. It will probably get the other Intercontinental versus US title champion versus champion match to be added with only a week and a bit to go. But it's 4 matches when there's only a week left. It's such a shame. But it's hard to believe this should be the final pay-per-view of 2021. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing?
Well, assuming we don't count War Games for NXT, which has been announced for Sunday, December 5th.
I mean, NXT, okay, NXT 2.0 to one side. Let's focus on main roster for now.
Well, let me add another little bit of intrigue to you here. That'll get you thinking. Every year, the past couple of years I've been watching, I'm pretty sure every year, since 2016, when I started watching again a Survivor Series, someone has lost one of their titles 1 or 2 weeks before the pay-per-view. Seth Rollins is owed a title shot. Could we see a surprise title match coming up next week on Raw, where the title changes hands and we get Seth Rollins Roman Reigns?
Ooh, that's why you're here. And So you're suggesting that they give us Seth versus Roman?
I'm not saying. I'm just saying it's a possibility.
See, I'm just racking my brain frantically at the moment. I mean, of course, 2017 they put the title in on AJ over Jinder in Manchester because nobody was buying Brock Lesnar versus Jinder Mahal as much as I would have definitely loved to have seen it. Shanty all day long. 2018, who dropped the title then? Keep talking. I've got to dig this out. That's some incredible stat.
Was 18 or 19 the year Daniel Bryan?
Yes, of course it was. Of course it was. And then 2019 they didn't do.
I don't think it was the heavyweight title. I believe it was the Intercontinental title or US title. One of those titles switched in.
Yeah, of course it was.
I think that's when Shinsuke won it a week before.
Yeah. And then obviously last year being yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Title switch happened.
You're right. You are right.
So you get Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins. All of a sudden, you have Kevin Owens turn heel, cost Big E the title to Seth Rollins. They go at it a few months for a big feud because rumor is that Kevin Owens is leaving for AEW.
Exactly.
You have a loser leaves WWE match. Kevin Owens loses, Big E goes over, goes back after the title.
This is why you're here. This is you find all the layers within all my waffle. That is, I love you for it, Sarah. It's that the thing is with Kevin Owens, and he's very much in the Daniel Bryan position that he was in, after WrestleMania back in April. Is that we sort of know roughly where his contract situation lies within the dirt streets, but is it a work? Is it a shoot? Is he playing into it? Are they gonna push him away to lead him out to go into All Elite Wrestling? But I think ultimately Kevin Owens deserves a belt. He hasn't had one since, of course, winning the Universal Championship in 2017, I believe it was, when Triple H put him over. It had to be between Kevin Owens and Kevin Steen to always put on a barn burner to have the title.
It had to be 15 or 16 because I've never seen him with a heavyweight title.
I think it was early 2017 because he dropped it to Goldberg. That's when it was. It's been that long since Kevin Owens has done anything with the main title. But I guess as we move on to NXT need to be involved into Survivor Series. It's as simple as that. Yes, they've had 2.0 start up in September and build into what they are at the moment. But next year it needs to be NXT versus Raw versus SmackDown, surely.
I mean, that Survivor Series in 2019, when you did have Raw versus SmackDown versus NXT, was perhaps one of the greatest Survivor Series of all time.
It was just what it was a culmination of all the right ingredients in the right time at the right moment. You know, you had the drama of SmackDown being stuck over in Saudi Arabia, so NXT coming and invade. You had Keith Lee. I miss you, Keith. You know, you had the stand-up performance of him. You had Shayna Baszler be the powerhouse that she's only starting to build herself back up to be on the main roster at the moment. Those moments of that night will live on for quite a while. And of course, the other matches on top of that, where you had Bryan versus Lesnar as well, it is one of the best Survivor Series of the modern age. But NXT 2.0 getting War Games to round off 2021. Are we excited? Is that something that makes you nervous after Halloween Havoc?
I'm cautiously optimistic. I've just started watching 2.0 since last week or week before. I like a few of the characters. It's a couple I'm still getting used to. I don't really see how they're going to build up teams yet, though. So we're going to have to wait and see, starting next week, maybe, how they start building teams.
I think the one key ingredient that they've let go over to the main roster is Hit Row. Hit Row would have been perfect to have been put into that cage. And just what we said before about before Adam Cole skipped off to AEW, is that the Undisputed Era would have had at least one more War Games match in them, and then all of a sudden they've all dispersed into all directions. I've teased this a lot in previous episodes of the Chop Shop. Could we possibly see War Games come up to the main roster? Because you think Bloodline versus New Day would be the only story you'd tell within War Games?
Possibly. I see it more of a Hell in a Cell. I don't see it as a War Games match. I think they keep that down at NXT. And, their version maybe is Elimination Chamber, which they keep on the main roster.
Sarah Hirsch is in the He's who's saying Toxic Attraction is her favorite thing on NXT 2.0 right now. And I think if we were to pick a name to be put in for War Games, Toxic Attraction would be a suggestion, of course, for the women's one. Is that, the women's War Games match last year, Io Shirai, that moment with the trash can, stupendous. Just stupendous. Exactly what War Games was built for. And yeah, it's going to be a interesting amalgamation as to who they choose to make a team of, and who the alliance make, and whether they can coexist or not.
All right, I got your women's War Games match here. 4-on-4, you got Toxic Attraction teaming up with Dakota Kai against Casey Catanzaro, Io Shirai, Kaden Carter, and Raquel Gonzalez.
Yeah, that works. That's a solid one. Who would you put for the men's one? Obviously, with Braun Breaker being in there at least, surely.
Men's, I think you get maybe Blue Diamond. Is that what that group's called, Blue Diamond?
I think so.
Yeah. So you got the four of them against maybe Odyssey Jones.
Oh, you mean the Dynamite?
Yes.
Okay.
So you got them, have them take on Odyssey Jones, Kushida. Kushida's tag team partner, I can't think of his name. And then someone else they'll pick up in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's possible. Again, I think with what we saw at Halloween Havoc and the way that they showcased the new talent, and of course we discussed this on the show, is that the Halloween Havoc was their first major test of whether they can sustain themselves going forward and how they can showcase the talent going forward, and be able to put the new talent over. 3 of the 4 main titles changed hands apart from the main belt, which we all thought would. But it's going to be the biggest test of how far they've developed so far when they go into a pay-per-view like War Games and they the direction that they go in. It'll be one to look out for, and it should put on a show and then some. But it's NXT.
Yeah.
Who knows with NXT? It could go completely right. It can go completely wrong. Let's run through Monday Night Raw and SmackDown quite quickly. Of course, we saw a fatal 5-way because they can't coexist on Monday Night Raw for the number one contender for Becky Lynch's title, won by Liv Morgan. What an interesting choice.
She finally gets her shot, but they probably won't pull the gun yet.
I mean, in the same vein as Seth Rollins, that when do they pull the trigger with that title shot? Do you reckon?
I think as much as they built Becky up to be a star, they're not going to want to take the belt off her. Maybe Royal Rumble at the earliest. I don't see it till WrestleMania.
Yeah, it's an interesting one how they're going to go with it, because Liv Morgan, it's just been. I'm going to put my balls on the line here. You can very much see an underdog Daniel Bryan story unfolding with Liv Morgan building her way back up to the main event of the women's division and showing what she can properly do. Whether they'll put that against the tweener that is Becky Lynch at the moment right now, and the way that she's being booked right now, she could be in the right place at the wrong time.
Mm-hmm. I see them either with Liv Morgan or Bianca Belair after Survivor Series, just kind of building up a continuously getting screwed over for the title kind of situation, and the underdog story comes true at WrestleMania.
This is true, and I suppose we may as well talk about it now. WWE having a party in AT&T because they've got to sell 200,000 tickets. I know Orlando's already got his. Undertaker's going to be there. They've got a big, massive belt there. Stephanie and all of John Cena's fans are there.
Well, I'm sure they'll get something from Stone Cold. He's doing a promo. Shawn Michaels will probably be involved somehow.
This is the thing with WrestleMania. I was thinking about this on the way home from work. You're always going to get the casual fans. You're always going to get the ones who travel from all across the world. I probably being guilty as one of them, in the future, where they'll always come for the spectacle. They always come for the moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you have to book it accordingly. Like WrestleMania 32 in Dallas, 100,000 people. We got Undertaker versus Shane McMahon in Hell in a Cell. Unfortunately, we got Roman Reigns versus Triple H in the worst main event in all-time history. We got Charlotte versus Sasha versus Becky Lynch for then the WWE Women's Championship. And it's moments like that build the card that say, you know what, that's worthwhile going to see for the casual fan and for the hardcore fan. And in the mess of the Divas era, they made that work. And we also got a fantastic Intercontinental ladder match. We saw Zack Ryder become Intercontinental champion. What a sentence to say that happened 5 years ago.
Then lose it the next.
Woo. But to have a 2-night WrestleMania now, and most likely 100,000 each night, it is looking less and less likely that they are missing the star power to be able to sell those tickets, especially as Undertaker won't be there, especially as Dwayne says he won't be there, but you never know with wrestling trope. Yeah. They're going to struggle to sell.
I think, first of all, I think Rock is there. I think they'll sell it. They might not sell it as quick as years past. They'll find a way to sell it.
It's frustrating, but it's still got time. We could be talking here at the start of February after watching a Royal Rumble, which completely lays it all out on the path is golden all the way to Dallas. But it's the creative has to be in the pipeline, and compared to last year and the year before that, where we knew where we were going, it's worrying.
Yeah,
it is worrying. One final story that I did want to pick up on, and it's somebody who I'm surprised again is still employed by the company, but it's somebody that deserves to do better. And that's Ricochet. His frustration with the way that Survivor Series has been selected, and with the way that Survivor Series is going to be headed come next weekend. Now, of course, Ricochet could watch him do all the flips all day long, every day for the rest of my life. Go back to Lucha Underground just to see how good he is. But he's got a point. I miss the days when you could be able to qualify for Survivor Series matches.
Yeah, I think they dropped the ball on Survivor Series this year. Hopefully they pick it back up to where it should be next year.
I think they'll be in the Boston Garden next year, right?
I think I saw that.
According to Wikipedia, they'll be in the Boston Garden next year. So, John Cena could always be there. He'll always turn up. My final question to you, Sarah. Favorite Survivor Series team of all time?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Your favorite Survivor Series team of all time?
You go back to some of the 90s ones, you have Legion of Doom teaming up with a bunch of people.
Mm-hmm.
Those were some powerhouse teams. That's when you had your big stars teaming up.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some of the better ones. If you haven't, if you got the network, go back and watch some of the 90s Survivor. Those were great.
I was thinking about this on the way back, and as much as I want to say 2001 Invasion Alliance versus WWF, in just the maddest of 5-on-5 shows, I'm going to say 1993, the All Americans versus the Foreign Fanatics, where you had Lex Luger, The Undertaker, and the Steiner Brothers versus Crush, Ludwig Borger, the Quebecers, and Yokozuna. What more could you want in a Survivor Series team?
Mm-hmm.
And when you go back and see The Undertaker celebrating Thanksgiving in the early days of the Dead Man sort of gimmick, best thing you'll ever see. You even got a coat with the stars and stripes on it as well. That is worth going back on the network for. And that is all we got time for on the Chop Shop. My thanks, of course, to the Mean Queen herself, Sarah Bissick, who can join for the Elite Talk Show as we gear up to Full Gear this weekend. Please like, comment, subscribe to the Buckabomb Entertainment channel. And, of course, like and subscribe to the podcast network, as we do have the Blasty Awards coming up very soon, don't we, Sarah?
We do. Nominations will be going up sometime the next couple of weeks, as well as, the fan votes will be going up. And, of course, probably last week or two, we'll be having our award show.
It's very exciting. Until then, I'll join you next week for the Chop Shop.